Hi, guys. Welcome to our podcast. We are here for English 250, our multimodal assignment. I'm Noah. I'm joined with,
Sam.
And I'm Grant.
and today we're going to talk about whether or not we support local businesses, what types of local businesses we support, and like a bunch of different questions along with that. So, to start, Sam, I want to ask you what constitutes a local business to you?
Yeah, so I think defining it is very important. And at home, I tend to think of things at home. So there's like a large chain called Sendix in my area. It's a grocery chain. And I consider that to be a local business, even though there's multiple locations all over Wisconsin area. Um, I don't know. I think there's like 13 locations or so, but I think of it more as if there were someone in a I don't know a different state from you, would they recognize that chain? And if they
Okay.
don't, I consider that to be local.
Awesome. Grant, you?
All right, I agree with that. I consider local to be just slightly smaller, even though I know the actual definition for a local business is a business that has like 500 or less actual employees. However, I consider local businesses to be like way smaller. Like there are chains a lot of the time, but I'm mostly talking about like one or two building businesses that are usually like completely family owned, family operated, and they all based on what like the family thinks is best for the future.
Yeah, I think my ideals on like what constitutes a local business is about the same as you two, whereas like it's a small, like tightly knit chain, not really a chain, but like a few businesses that are family owned, maybe not family owned, but like they have few employees and they're doing it not to just make a bunch of money. Do you guys support local businesses? Sam, I know you said you had some. Do you support any local businesses back in New Hampshire at
I
all?
do. I actually work at a small family-owned pizza place called Pizza Academy. I've been working there ever since the beginning of freshman year, and even when I come back from college, I still work from there. Basically, my stance on local businesses is a lot of the time it's not people like trying to make money, as Noah was saying earlier, but it's just people who have grander ambitions and like want to make the general, not just the world, but just the community around them a better place, and then turn leads to more lively communities. I know in my town back home, it's a fairly small town, but almost all the stuff that we have there is like made and produced significantly by local businesses. So we all like support one another. And there's been many situations where like someone's store gets destroyed and everyone from the community ends up pitching in and helping to repair it and just help one another out, which is something that I've noticed a lot of corporations who only tend to focus on monetary gain only care about the money.
Yeah. Sam, any other local businesses?
Well, there's all sorts of local businesses, but I do like what you said, and I do think an aspect of local businesses is the community that it creates. Um, I as an example, a lot of local businesses around me, like they'll sponsor like schools and I don't know, like the little league for all different sports. You'll see all the sponsors in the back, and they're a community based thing, and they're there to uplift the community where you would never see like Target sponsoring like some little league in some random area. So I think they hold a really important place in, uh, you know, uplifting everyone in the community.
Okay, I got another question for you guys. After moving to Iowa State, do you guys find that you support local businesses more, or has it been harder to support local businesses?
So I find with local businesses, a lot of the time supporting them usually is with more disposable income. Like college students who are just trying to, I know at least for me personally, most of my money goes into just getting food and just like basic stuff. So a lot of the time I'll go to the places that have the cheaper alternative, like Sam's Club, Domino's, Target, where most local businesses, a lot of people you see shopping at them are people who have a stable job and stable income that they're able to spend. And even though it is slightly more expensive, a lot of the time the product reflects the price that you actually pay for it. Or like if you go to Target to buy like a shelf or something, I mean, it'll just be kind of just wood. Whereas if you go to like a local business,
Yep.
there's a couple local furniture stores back at home, and you can honestly feel the heart and soul of the employees into making whatever they do. So just that human aspect makes local businesses a lot more just relatable as a person.
Yeah, I definitely, I definitely agree with that. Um, yeah. What was the question again? I literally
Uh,
forgot.
As moving to Iowa State, do you find that
Oh,
you support local businesses more or
yeah, yeah,
less?
yeah. No, that's definitely the case. We're definitely like poor college students. We're trying to get the cheapest thing, the most bang for our buck. But if I were to win the lottery, I would absolutely love to support any local businesses. I tend to find products are more better quality, and when you put money into local businesses, you'll usually see it put back into the same community. So, yeah.
Grant, would you like to inform us on how big corporations have a greater effect on the local business community?
I would love to. Basically, I've done a little bit of research, and a lot of the reasons why, especially as of recently, a lot of local businesses have been pushed out of the market is for a couple of reasons. First off, it's because they're typically way more specialized than larger businesses. If you go to like a Walmart or Target, for example, you can find anything from a garden hose to Cheez-Its. Like you can get anything you need. Whereas if
Yeah.
you go to a local business, they typically don't hold the same variety because they cater just to a different market. Because there's not going to be like one store just for like antique clocks. Whereas if you go into your own local community, there is no end to the amount of things that you'll find for just like specifics. Another big reason that they're being pushed out of the marketplace is because most of them don't have enough money for a proper legal team. Largest businesses like have the money that they can spare to easily just take out a legal team, sue small businesses over the most dumb ideals, and they can just like take out their competition slowly. Whereas small businesses kind of, when they spend their money, they don't spend it on legal teams to take down competitors. They spend it to put back into the community, as Sam was saying earlier.
Yeah, one thing I would like to speak on about that is, are there companies that you think try like to push out local communities or local businesses?
I definitely would say yes. I remember just knowing like in the early 1900s, Walmart as a brand was a very small corporation, and I know I'm dogging on Walmart a lot, but to be honest, they kind of deserve it. They spent a lot of money into their legal team just to push out their competitors, and they became one of the largest organizations and just like chain sellers in all of America. And as such, they make billions of dollars in profit each year. However, they barely invest that much back into the community. Even the parts where they say like we'll donate $1 for every $10 someone spends. Most of the time, that donation doesn't go to the actual charities they say, but it goes to a corporations where just pennies of that will actually be sent to the people who need it. Whereas if a local business says that, yeah, we'll donate 2% of our totals, even though it seems way less lofty than a larger corporation, oftentimes that 2% goes directly to who needs it and can improve their lives in more ways than one.
Sam, for you, Jeff Bezos and Amazon, do you think that with coronavirus, the big impact coronavirus had on our local businesses and how the ease of access Amazon has in like online shipping, do you think that Amazon has had like a great effect on local businesses?
I mean, it's pretty clear that Amazon during COVID kind of took out like a ton of different places. I mean, Amazon, the whole shipping business model, which really wasn't too much of a big thing, like maybe like 10 or so years ago. Now it's in everything. If you want to stay afloat as a business now, you have to offer some sort of shipping because people are just staying in their homes now. They don't want to go out into businesses to buy stuff. They're willing to pay the extra price for shipping now. And when Amazon already had that platform for shipping, once everyone was staying in their homes because of COVID, then they had that already. So now they skyrocket. And I mean it's very hard to find some things that you can find on Amazon in local businesses because they push those sort of things out.
Yeah, going on with the COVID, I did some research, and according to the World Economic Forum, they stated that about 99.9% of all businesses in the US qualify as small businesses, i.e., local businesses, which they employ roughly 47.3% of the nation's private workforce, which after January 2020, 34% of these businesses have been closed and are still closed, which it seems to me that with COVID, we've had a big drop in our like local businesses around us. But then after more research, the Census Bureau said that there was an enormous spike in employer identification numbers, which are needed to be like constituted as a small business, which seems to me like Americans have more drive to bring back a local community after we saw what had happened to them through COVID. Can I get you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I kind of want to extend on that. I also want to take it my own small spin, where instead of just like talking about it, do any of you guys have any stories on how like local businesses have kind of recovered from the brink of closure by the community? Because I know, at least back for me, even at the company I worked at called Pizza Academy, during COVID, it was a rough time for not just them, but many small businesses in our local area. I know they had to lay off a lot of employees just because, especially like during the heart of COVID, many businesses that weren't just, Amazon likes that could just ship stuff to you, like food places, barely got any income because no one was really going outside anymore. And I don't know, as such, the community's been going to a lot of local stores, and our actual just town itself has like given money off and given money specifically to the businesses. And I do know like many businesses who have had to close, which is very sad. However, a couple businesses have actually been able to open back up to be more than what they honestly were before the closure. But a lot of that is just by the community's drive itself.
Yeah, for me and where I live, there's like this main street where there's a ton of businesses, and once like COVID started ramping up, it was like a constant like give and take of different businesses that were trying to be in the market, and then they would get bankrupt or something, and new guy, and then they have to come out. So I think so now. I think things are fairly stable, which I think is a good sign. People are recognizing like the importance in supporting your local businesses, which I think is very important.
Yeah, I would say for me during COVID, I worked at Home Goods, which is not a local business. My fault. I'm sorry, guys. But they didn't like. From my experience, though, they didn't see like any difference. Like there was obviously a drop with like as the economy dropped, but there wasn't like a big difference where like they were considering closing. It was always we had enough like money revenue coming in. People were still coming into the store even though like our city was on lockdown. It was like crazy to me that like people don't support local businesses as much as they should. Sam, I want to talk to you. I want you to inform us on what do you think some of the benefits are on local businesses on their community?
Yeah, so a couple of points that I've brought up before, but I think most importantly their effect on the community and how they support their community. So as I said with like how they sponsor local events and stuff from before. And another thing is encouraging entrepreneurship, which is very important. You'll see very often that big conglomerates are not willing to make any super massive risks where I feel like local businesses are able to have that flexibility and be able to, come up with creative ideas on how to sell things where big businesses won't. So I think innovation is one thing that local businesses really thrive in.
Yeah, I want to share a personal anecdote. My father tried to run. He had a pretty successful local business. It was a phone repair company back when like you could actually repair the phones, and they didn't make it, so you couldn't repair them. Anyways, he had about 3 or 4 stores, and we tried expanding to get to like a better place and to get more money, because everyone wants money, right? And so he moved a store out to Boulder, Colorado, and I saw my dad struggle for a really long time, and I think that like sometimes running like a local business can be very hard, like knowing the fact that there's other people that'll put you out of your place and you're just fighting to survive. You're not really like fighting to earn more money, like to get rich. You're just surviving, making sure that rent's due, and getting all your bills paid on time, so you have water, you have electricity, you have gas to cook your food. And I think that that's what a lot of people with local businesses are here for. They're not here to be the next Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, honestly, to add on that, a lot of the things I've noticed, especially with not only the bosses but the employees as well. If you go to like, I know I personally I worked at Target and at a local business that sold pizza at the exact same time during my senior year, and from what I've noticed, no one really took their job like at Target. No one took it seriously. It was all just means to an end. It was putting groceries here. Even people who did customer service, it was kind of just like putting on a fake smile and just none of it was real. Whereas when I worked at the local business, just members of the community were way closer. People took pride in their job. And along with that, just everything was honestly more enjoyable. Like I know I've held whole conversations in the middle of my work shifts while working at the pizza place where I've just given people discounts for stuff. And honestly, it's fine with it because it's a person-to-person connection. Whereas at companies, it's just a company trying to pretend that they're something that they're not. Where companies will do anything possible just to make another buck. Local businesses just aim to make another smile in the neighborhood.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good quote. I'm gonna quote you on that. Sam, what is your job experience with local businesses, or if you haven't worked at a local businesses, what have you seen in the big corporate America that you think should be changed?
Yeah, so with my work experience, I wouldn't really say I worked per se for a local business. So at first I worked like 3 years for my school's rec department, and I would just like allow specific teams and stuff in, and it was very chill. I just sat there. Uh, I don't. It technically is local, but I wasn't selling anything. It wasn't really. I wasn't on the business side of it really, so I feel like that's not super relevant. But and then last summer I worked in a manufacturing place. They have a few manufacturing places in Wisconsin, but it's a completely international brand. So it's like a sink company. They sell like all different types of sinks, emergency eye wash stuff. Like I've seen some of their products literally here in Iowa State. So it is not necessarily a local business. I think that is actually kind of interesting to bring up about how we define local businesses, because this business technically is local, but they sell internationally.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I did feel more pride in working there, but that also could be because I had much higher wages as opposed to my last job. And, I just enjoyed the work there. But I wonder, what's your guys' thoughts on, would you consider that a local business?
I think it kind of falls in a separate category, honestly. Because, like, I know for me personally, I mean, corporations, you really shouldn't have to define a corporation. It's a place with a big chain, a bunch of different stores everywhere, cross-state, cross-country. Local businesses, I almost classify as small chains with, like, 1 to 7 stores, where most people who own it are in direct contact with each other. Whereas, like, semi-local businesses might kind of be what you're talking about, where even though it is a couple of places, they do sell completely internationally, as you were saying, where it's kind of in a little bit of a gray water. However, even if it is like not completely like one mom and pop shop, that doesn't mean that like it's not a local thing. Like a lot of the locality isn't based on the size, it's based on the peer-to-peer connection.
Yeah, like from my own personal experience, you said you had a big pay jump from your local like Parks and Rec community job as to where you're working at what Grant classifies as a semi-local, a little more broad. You saw a pay jump, right?
Yes.
I noticed that local businesses have a tough time finding people who have the passion and who aren't just looking for a paycheck, because like the minimum wage in South Dakota is $9.50. I believe right now. Here in Iowa, it's $7.25 federal minimum wage, which that's what I make. All right, but I'm a college student. It's okay. I don't really do much with
That's
that.
a different conversation.
It is a completely different conversation. But these local businesses, they hire at like $10, $11 minimum, like close to minimum wage in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where I live. Whereas if you can go to Walmart in Sioux Falls and get paid $20 an hour to work for this big corporation where they're not really here for your passion in Walmart, even though they're like, they want you to be very passionate about your work at Walmart. No one's really passionate about their work at Walmart.
No one
Come on, guys.
cares.
Like, people are just trying to get some cash, and it makes it hard for local businesses to expand when they can't hire people because they don't have the passion to take the pay cut and work and help expand this company. And I think that's another big effect that corporations have on local businesses. And I want to know, how much did you make?
So my work thing was kind of weird. When I worked at the local business for the first time, I was technically paid around $7.25 to $8. However, I also got as much free food as I wanted to eat, and kind of another thing about working for local businesses is having your hours be just available whenever you want, where you don't get rewarded in monetary gain as much, but it's a lot more just personal stuff. But I do know I then decided like I needed money to save up for college, so I quit and worked at Target, which doubled my salary to about $16 an hour. However, then my business I worked for, because I was a good friend with the boss at the time, because I used to always work there, he actually hired me back, and ended up getting paid about $20 an hour, including tips and a bunch of other stuff. So a lot of time, local businesses, even though they pay low, they want to pay higher.
Mm-hmm.
Like my boss, a lot of the time, him and his wife could barely make payments on their house because they wanted to keep the shop open,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of just wanted to keep supporting the community. Whereas larger businesses never will have to deal with that. The only question for them is just like, do we pay the CEO 5% or 10% this month? Not really as personal questions, if you ask me.
Awesome.
All right. Well, do we have anything else?
Any closing thoughts from either of you guys? I think, to whoever's listening to this podcast, I think you guys should definitely go try and support your local businesses more. They want to support you just as much as you should support them. And, it's okay to shop at the big corporations. They have the ease of access. It's cheaper. But if you've got the extra cash, keep the economy local. Try and keep the money within your community.
Absolutely.
That's a great thought.
All right. Goodbye.
Thank you,
Over and
guys.
out.